if that dude gets if he gets a podium this year, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
That's a possibility.
I'll tell you what,
Maybe.
if he wins a race this year, I will buy Lance Stroll merchandise and wear it on this channel. Hey everybody, welcome back to Two Car Guys and to a very special F1 preview show.
F1, baby, we're back. So close. Oh,
we're so close. We're so close.
There.
I know when this airs that there'll still be a few weeks between, when we finally get to see some cars on track. However, we wanted to get our predictions in early. We wanted to have this conversation. They're about to start doing testing. So yeah, we wanted to get this out there.
We've got so much coming. Love it. Yes.
I'm pretty pumped. So today we're going to talk about a few things. But before we get into it, if you haven't started following the channel, please follow it. Hit the bell. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're forwarding it on.
Yes.
But for right now, let's focus on F1.
Formula One, baby.
And today we're going to start with the drivers of the year, who we think is going to be the rookie of the year. Yes. Who's going to win some of the races, or at least our predictions anyway, right?
Yeah. What we think might happen.
We've got a couple interesting topics in here that are going to be fun. One of them is going to be who's going to be the first to bring out a red flag, right? Who will win the championship, and then who will win the Constructors Championship, right?
Yes. And these are all...
For those of you who aren't caught up, let me just go through really quick and remind you of the drivers for 2025 for the F1 season by team. So we'll start off with the Constructors Championship from last year. Yes. We've got McLaren, and it's the same pair as last year. We've got Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri.
Awesome pairing.
Awesome pairing.
Yes.
Ferrari is going to be Leclerc, and for the first time in red is going to be Lewis Hamilton.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But
it is.
We'll continue.
It's going to be interesting.
Yes.
On Red Bull, we have a switch up. We have who John is wearing. We have the Max Verstappen. And we've got Liam Lawson. So that's going to be an interesting pairing. We'll talk a little bit about Liam Lawson here in a minute. We've got George Russell and brand new to Mercedes, Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
Yes.
Aston Martin stayed the same with Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso. We've got Pierre Gasly and Jack Doohan on Alpine. We've got Isaac Hadjar and Yuki Tsunoda on the Racing Bulls.
Right.
I thought they were RB Cash App, but I guess this year we're calling them Racing Bulls.
Yeah. Or,
We've also got Esteban Ocon and Ollie Behrman on the Haas team. In Williams, we've got Alexander Albon and Carlos Sainz.
Yeah.
And then finally, for the Kick Sauber team, we've got Nico Hülkenberg and Gabriel Bortoleto. So Gabriel Bortoleto. So it's going to be an interesting setup. So let's start at the top, right?
Let's go.
Who do you think, John? Who do you think is going to be the strongest team this year? What's the best pairing out there?
Unfortunately, I know I'm wearing this, but I think it's going to be McLaren, man. They finished the year strong last year. The car is, if it comes in like it did last year, is going to be amazing. And if that's the case, they have the strongest pairing for sure.
You know what? I agree with you. I think that they've got the car, they've got the drivers. You've got two now experienced drivers who both won F1 races.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who came in second in the Drivers' Championship. And if you look at that, there's not really another pairing on the grid that has that chemistry. Yes, Max is going to be good, but he's paired up with Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson's a great driver. Don't take anything away from Liam Lawson, but this would be his first full season in an F1 seat.
And everyone knows the pressure of the Red Bull car, man.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had so many drivers, and he'll be the one with the least experience going into that seat. So that could be a good thing, but that could also be a really bad thing. So,
well, because he's never driven in the Red Bull car before. He's driven in the RB car before, but he's never driven in the Red Bull car before. So that could be the thing that makes the difference right there.
And being parked in that seat right next to Max Verstappen, The pressure is on, man. The pressure is
Pressure's
on.
definitely on.
So,
And listen, I know Lewis is a 7-time champion. I know that, Leclerc is a race winner. But the truth
honestly,
of the matter is Lewis has never been in that car. This is his first year in
yeah,
the Ferrari, but crazier things have happened, right? Because
right.
he went to Mercedes, who'd never won a race basically, and went there and had 7 championships. So
You cannot knock that. You
no,
can't discount this man. And he's coming in, he's going to be on fire. But I think there's going to be a bit of a power struggle because Leclerc and it's, you've seen the memes. It's like, who's
I
number
mean,
one? Oh, yeah, you,
yes,
man.
my favorite meme is
Yes,
the
the
one
Thor.
from with
Yeah.
with Thor and Star Lord, and
Who's in
he's like, I'm
charge?
still in charge. He's like, oh yeah, of course,
Yeah.
you're still in charge, of course.
Right. Yeah. So, and I feel like that's going to be kind of the dynamic in that team for a little bit until,
Yeah.
but maybe not. But I think most likely that's what we're going to see.
Now, I joked with you the other day, and I was like, did you know that George Russell's still racing for Mercedes? Because
Yeah.
all of the social media is
Dude.
focused on Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
Yes,
Everything I've seen is focused on Andrea Kimi Antonelli. So
when you sent that to me, though, I literally was like, "Did I miss something? Did something change? Like, what am I? I'm looking through every app. I'm like, what changed? What?
No,
what,
he's
what
still
are we
there.
talking
He's
about?"
still
And he
there.
goes, "Oh no, I just hadn't seen anything because Antonelli's been the top
Nothing.
notch news."
Yeah, every time they show
Yeah.
anything, Mercedes sponsored. He's
Yeah.
the guy, right?
I mean, we're gonna see how that works out. I think that may be the same dynamic that's in Ferrari right now.
It might be, but I'll tell you,
But, yeah.
and I don't know if anybody else is talking about this. There's a lot of pressure on Andrea Kimi Antonelli because he's only got a handful of races
Right.
before he can win. He has to win in like the first 2 or 3 races to
Yes.
grab the title from Max and be the youngest driver to ever win an F1 race.
Yep.
His birthday is coming up. Like if he doesn't do it soon, he doesn't have a chance.
That's a massive accomplishment right there, man.
It is.
If it happens, that would be sick.
It would be really
sick.
crazy.
Jack
Doohan is another one that I've got my eye on. Mick Doohan was an incredible motorcycle racer. I followed him for years.
Yeah.
And Jack, it's good to see him in an Alpine car.
I feel like Jack is a bit set up for failure, though. They signed Colapinto as his reserve driver. You know what I mean? Like they even gave Colapinto a 5-year contract, and supposedly Jack Doohan's only got like a 6-month contract, and they can be like, peace.
I mean, he's breathing down his neck. But what says that they don't get rid of Pierre?
Yeah, but Pierre can perform. I feel like he can drive the car. So
I feel like he can too. But if you look at the driver lineup for 2025. There's a lot of fresh faces on this lineup. And there could be some pressure from the Alpine team who, what is this?
Want to be the youngest team maybe or something. Yeah. It's
right?
Last year of Alpine. They're going to be Audi next year.
Right. So there could be some pressure this year to maybe get a younger group of people in there. Who knows? Right?
Interesting. I didn't think of
Isaac
Hadjar
is another
perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, Isaac Hadjar is another interesting person because Isaac, I saw him in F3,
right?
So it was or F2 actually, in F2.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting to see him kind of make the jump and be alongside of Yuki Tsunoda.
Right.
I wonder if Yuki's racing this year with a chip on his shoulder.
He's mad, man. He's
got to be mad.
He's got to be. I mean, didn't get the big seat.
But think about what he's been through. He was sitting in that seat, outperforming Ricciardo.
Yes,
right,
100%.
Ricciardo was in there going, "I'm basically destined for the Red Bull seat as soon as we get Sergio out of it."
Right.
And then next thing you know, Ricciardo's gone. Yuki must have thought, "Oh, I clearly outperformed this guy. I'm the logical choice, right?"
Do you think?
And then boom.
Do you think if Ricciardo hadn't broke his hand in that first race, would he be in the RB seat right now, or the Red Bull seat right now?
I don't know. I think
that was just a major kick to his ego, and it was done.
Maybe.
You know what I mean?
I think that Danny Rick is a phenomenal driver.
Yeah.
But it almost looked like his his trajectory kind of went down when he left Red Bull.
Right.
Because he went to Renault, and it he won a race with Renault, and it did okay, but it didn't really. He wasn't fighting for championships, and then he left and went to McLaren, and McLaren wasn't where they are now. Let's be honest,
right?
But he wasn't fighting for championships over there, and then he just was without a seat.
Yeah,
and so I don't know that if he didn't break his hands, that he'd still be in the mix. I'd like to think he would, just because we like
him. Yeah, him as a person, I guess.
Yeah, I like him, so who knows? But you got to think that Yuki feels passed over. Now,
I know it.
Here's my conspiracy theory for the episode. I think that Yuki Tsunoda is biding his time to go to Aston Martin.
Because he's going to follow the Honda motor.
Because he's going to follow Honda.
Yeah, that's very possible. I can see that.
I think that they may have even gotten the sense that was going to happen, and that's why he didn't get the Red Bull seat.
Right. Or that's why they've, kind of pushed him back and promoted others.
I think that might be it.
Yeah.
Now I will tell you, for anyone out there who's getting into sim racing or already been in sim racing, the F1 24 game has been out for a year now. The F1 25 game is coming out. In the F1 24 game, you could be a F2 driver and get promoted to F1, and then you could basically do the career. Right. So I chose Ollie Behrman in F2, and I'm like halfway through the season, on my second go around.
Right.
And it's really funny because they don't change. I'm with McLaren.
Right.
And my teammate is Lando Norris.
That is a mind mess up right there. Oh, man.
It's crazy. I'm with McLaren and my teammate's Lando Norris, and Ferrari keeps coming after me, and I've got a Ferrari logo on top of my helmet. Right. So it's really interesting that they keep coming after me and talking to me. But anyway, I think I'm really excited to see Ollie in a seat. I think he's a phenomenal driver. I think he's going to do really well this year. I shouldn't say unfortunately, but he's in a Haas car. But we saw Haas do some really great stuff last year.
Last year, towards the end of the season, that car was looking better and better and better.
Yeah.
So if that keeps going, and they start strong, usually in the past 3 years or so, they have started pretty strong at the beginning of the season, and then kind of slowly just went down. But this year,
I don't think that they can. I don't think they can afford to keep up with the other teams,
and that may be the case. That's an interesting thought. The simple fact that Haas financially might not be able to keep up is a question for talking in another episode, I'm sure.
So I'm not really excited about the Williams prospect of it all, right?
Right.
I'm interested to see what Carlos can do in the car. I feel terrible for him. I feel like he should be fighting for championships. He's that good a driver.
They even had pretty quick cars at the end of the year. Williams, really, I don't know, man. They were looking pretty good at the end of the year.
Well, you gotta remember, by the end of the year, they may have caught up. But once they get into the beginning of the year, they may get some early success.
So maybe,
but once the other teams start bringing upgrades, halfway through the season in race 9 and 10, they can't afford to keep up.
Well, I would like to see a Williams finish first.
I would like to see Nico Hülkenberg finish on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
He's got like the most races of any racer without a podium finish. So I'd like to see him on the podium. Okay. So the question number 2 is, who will be the rookie of the year? We've got so many fresh faces this year. Does Liam count as a rookie? I guess he does, because it's his first full year.
Yeah, it's his first full year. So they're kind of, I've heard different things, but yes, I would consider him a rookie.
So then that would make it Liam, Andrea, Isaac, Jack, and Ollie Behrman and Bortoletto.
Yep. And all right, I'll let you do your prediction first. Who do you think?
I mean, I tend to lean toward Andrea, because I think that there's going to be a ton of support behind him to be successful.
Okay.
Let's be honest, Mercedes is still a good car. George was winning races, and Lewis won some races last year and podiumed a few times. I honestly feel like that he's going into a good car, so you can't take that away from him, right? but I think there's going to be a lot of support behind him to be successful. I think Ollie's going to be a great guy, in the seat. I think Jack's going to do well in the seat, but Ollie's at Haas and Jack's at Alpine.
Yeah.
Right. And let's be honest, Gasly doesn't really play well with others, so he might put Jack in the wall. Who knows?
Well, I guess we'll see.
Yeah, my vote is definitely for Andrea Kimi Antonelli.
Okay, and my vote is going to be Ali Barron. I think that he'll come out as Rookie of the Year. I don't think he's going to be the most dominant driver, but I think he's going to be able to do the most with the least. And I think
so. We'll say Ollie's my favorite, right? Okay. Yeah. Obviously, because I'm playing
what
him
he did in that Ferrari, and that was masterclass.
It was masterclass. He did wonderful in the Ferrari, but let's be honest, he wasn't driving a Haas.
Well, I'm also a little bit thinking that the Haas is going to be a little better this year coming in the gate, and we'll see. We don't know yet, but I think that may be the case. I think he's going to be surprising in that car.
So, one of the questions we had in here was like, who's going to win a race? I think I'm hoping that this year is a lot like last year, 2024, where we see multiple race winners.
Yes,
I really want to see
that was excellent.
Everybody up there.
Yeah,
because it makes it more exciting.
100%. It's not just the Max Verstappen show. I love Max, but it's not his show, and I want to see that fight for the top. I love that.
I really want to see a battle for the top for sure.
Absolutely.
Here's the question, and I don't know if we want to race to answer it, if we want to answer it at the same time. Who will bring out the first red flag?
Ooh, I think it's gonna be Jack.
Lance Stroll. It's not even a question.
I was still on the rookies. Yes,
it's not even a question.
I thought
Lance might bring it out. Lance might bring it out in testing. like, let's be honest here.
All right, yeah, I would agree with that. I thought we were still talking about the rookies. So
no, this is the same guy who thought, hey, here's a speed trap that stops cars at 200 miles an hour. I'm just going to drive through it. Yeah. First red flag. Who do you think is going to be a flop this year?
Okay, I think Liam Lawson.
What?
Yep, I think he's going to be a flop. He didn't really impress me last year at the end of the year, and I think Liam Lawson is going to be that odd one that it gets to Red Bull. It's the first two races. The shirt, dude. I'm wearing a Max Verstappen shirt.
Yeah, but you're wearing the Oracle Red Bull Racing shirt.
As much as I want them to do well, I don't think their choice in Liam was the right one.
I disagree. I think Liam is a team player. I think Liam is exactly what Max needs to win another championship.
Okay, I got you.
I think he's going to block and tackle and do all the things he needs to do.
And I hope you're right, but I don't think that's going to happen. Who do you think it is?
I think. This is tough, right? Because I know very little about Isaac Hadjar. I know a little bit about Bortoletto.
Right.
But
I mean, honestly,
I feel like they're setting Jack up for failure.
Yes, Jack is set up for failure, but I don't think he's gonna be a flop. I think he's just set up for failure, and that's maybe gonna create that. But at the end of the day, the true, honest, we all know who the real flop is, and it's going to be Lance Stroll. So
that guy. Okay, so who do you think is going to win the 2025 F1 championship?
All right, I'm going to let you go first.
I mean, it's going to be tough, but I think that Lando's got it. They started off slow last year.
Okay.
And then he ramped up. You got to remember, he didn't win his first race until Miami. That was almost halfway through the season, right?
Yep.
And then he started clicking off not just race wins, but being at the front and being at the front by a lot.
That car turned into a rocket ship after Miami, man. Oh,
and I honestly think that he has probably the best chance to beat Max this year.
Okay. And I'm going to go, and I know you can't guess who I think is going to win the world championship.
Max Verstappen.
It's going to be Max Verstappen. That's who I think is going to win it. Yes. I mean,
oh man,
I think he can do it.
You know what though? It'll depend, because here's the thing is whether you're a Max Verstappen fan or not,
Right.
If you've watched any F1 racing, if you've gone back and watched Drive to Survive,
Yeah.
Max is great when he's 10 cars out in front of everybody.
Right.
When he's in the mix, he gets very hot-headed, and he is quick to put you in the corner, to overbreak a corner. I mean, think about all the stuff. If you look at the 2021 race, when they did the restart,
right,
he was coming up alongside of Hamilton. He was pulling his car ahead of Hamilton before the restart. They made a rule that prevented people from doing that going forward. So now you have to be behind the lead car and let the lead car restart, which is how it should have been from the beginning, right? Okay. Now, if you look at some of the other stuff too, he's a very aggressive driver when he gets kind of pinned into a corner, right?
Right.
And so when you think about that, you've got Hamilton in what proved to be last year a more competitive car. You've got Leclerc on an upswing, right? He seems to be doing better in his car. You've got Lando and Oscar that both have competitive cars. And now George is doesn't have to be second fiddle anymore to Lewis. Right. There could be 5 to 6 people up at the front of this pack that he's got to, battle out to get in front of.
Right. And that's another thing I was going to say. At the end of the year, I'm hoping that there's a true out fight for it. That we have 5 drivers that are truly able to put the car there and truly able to bring it to the end. And
I don't want anybody to win it in Vegas. I don't want anybody to win it in.
No, I want it to go to the last race.
Yeah,
last race. Winner of that race is going to take it home.
Yep.
That's what I want. And I hope it's a clean way to there, not like, Michael Massey said you can drive now. I didn't like that just as much as anybody else, right? Okay. But yeah, exactly.
Okay, so who do you think is going to be the Constructors Champion this year?
So that one is really tough for me. And I know what your thoughts are. So I'll let you go.
Right here, baby. McLaren is definitely going to be the Constructors Championship this year. I think there's no way around it because they have the strongest pairing. Okay. I think that those two guys are going to be up fighting for the podium throughout the year. And, I think it's just a better situation.
Right.
What we've seen in the past, and we've seen it at Aston Martin, we've seen it at Red Bull, we've seen it at some of these other teams. You can get on the podium 6, 7, 8 times.
Yeah.
And it's all good. But if your teammate is 12th and 13th and 15th and 21st and, in the pits and not even leaving the pits, if he's that guy, then guess what?
It doesn't matter what you do.
It doesn't matter.
As a team, you're not going to finish first.
Yeah.
I agree.
And it's crazy to look. You remember, I think last year might have been a good example of that too. We had some other people come in over the course of the year.
Right.
And so when you look to see who had points, I mean, there's only 20 drivers on the grid, but we had people that were like 24th.
Yeah. Because you had the sub driver in or something like that.
Yeah. So if you're 24th on the grid and Max Verstappen is first on the grid, guess what? You're not going to win the Constructors Championship unless he wins every race like he did in 2023.
Correct.
Then it doesn't matter anyway. But the truth of the matter is that it's not possible to do that year over year, and especially going into this year.
Right. And I think this year is going to be tougher for Max than any other year he's been Formula One.
I hope so. I hope so.
But
I'm ready for a shakeup.
My thoughts on who's going to win the Constructor Champion is also McLaren. So, hey man, I
bury the lead. Bury the lead on that one.
I agree with you. Now there's a possibility Ferrari is going to be really close, but maybe not. So we'll
Ferrari
see.
Could see. The thing is,
that's the one that's like the, Yahtzee. You just don't know.
I don't want to sell.
An interesting pair.
I don't want to sell Ferrari short. The truth of the matter is Ferrari, right? So they could do some weird stuff and pit at the wrong time or put the wrong tires on the car.
That's the scary part. It's like But I mean, honestly, like McLaren's really kind of calls Lando the championship, right? So
they did. Yeah. If you look at how there were some incidences where they didn't prioritize Lando.
Right.
I think that cost him the championship.
Yep.
But, they really wanted Oscar to not feel like he was number 2. They want to have 2 number 1 drivers,
and that's
the hard part. It's almost impossible.
That's the hard part, man. That gets you constructor champions. That I don't think that gets you world champions.
Yeah, I think it's almost impossible to do that.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, if anything, is going to be a surprise this year? What do you think is going to be, your one thing this year that I think is going to catch everybody off guard?
So I'm thinking I would probably say that Hamilton's going to struggle in that car. I think that's going to be a big surprise for some people. Absolutely.
See, I don't think that would be so much of a surprise because it's a new season, new car. I think it may take him, a season, maybe even half a season to figure it out.
But they've hyped him up so much, man.
They've really hyped him up.
They really have hyped him up. And I feel like as bad as he struggled in the Mercedes,
it's Hamilton.
You're
going to hype him up.
I get that. I agree with that. So, I don't know. What kind of surprises do you see this year?
I don't know. So there's going to be a lot of things that could happen this year. A lot of stuff that is going to be going on this year from just a drama standpoint. I almost want to fast forward to 2026 to watch Drive to Survive in 2025, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But we haven't seen. There's nothing out here that I'm thinking of that's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a standout race or something crazy.
Right.
The cars aren't going to change much for 2025. 26 is when all the new engine regulations come into effect and when all the new teams come into effect and the engine manufacturers are moving around.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Maybe the surprise is this year that Aston Martin is up toward the top.
That would be
because if you think about it, they have all the pieces.
Yes, except for that one. Really
well. They've got a 2-time world champion.
Yes.
They have a championship aerodynamicist.
Yes.
They have the money. They've got the team. They have everything they need.
The facilities. I mean,
the facilities. They have everything they need to have a championship team. Minus one dude.
One thing, man. That one little, and I'm making his emblem right now.
Just one dude.
Maybe we'll be surprised, and Lance Stroll will be actually good this year.
If that dude gets if he gets a podium this year, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
That's a possibility.
I'll tell you what. Maybe. If he wins a race this year, I will buy Lance Stroll merchandise and wear it on this channel.
Fair. Okay. I won't.
100%.
I won't. 100%. Good luck, Lance, but I won't.
100%. Yeah. All right. So I think we've got pretty much everything that we think might be crazy, right? Oh. What is okay, go ahead.
I got one thing. One thing that I think that is a debatable thing. Do we think that somebody will get a race ban for cussing?
Oh, I didn't think about that.
Do we think that will happen? Because that would be the most surprising thing.
So, if anybody hasn't read the new regulations,
right?
The new regulations are really strict about cussing.
Yes.
And they are saying that not only can you get a fine, but if you do it multiple times, you can get a race ban.
Yes.
And not be able to race in a Formula One championship race.
Can you imagine that? Can you even just...
Listen, these guys are going 200 miles an hour, exposed to the world.
Yes.
And fighting for their lives. Under immense pressure. I mean, intensity like we've never seen. And we expect them to be like, oh, darn it. Oh gosh.
Oh gosh, darn it. Oh, that darn, that retrospecting. What?
It is not going to go down that way, guys.
What is this, man?
Listen, if they ban anybody, it's going to be Yuki Tsunoda.
Oh my God.
Now, here's the thing. Does it count for team radio.
You know,
Because if it counts for team radio, we might as well just go ahead and take Yuki out this year altogether.
Here's what I say. Yuki just turns his mic completely off. They're like, Yuki, come in. Yuki, hello.
He has a button on his dashboard to say yes or no.
It's just like,
that's it.
you know?
Just a button.
Man. Like,
there's no way. If you've ever listened, if anybody has watched Drive to Survive, you know that kid can't stop swearing.
And you know, I think it's and honestly, I don't think it's 100% his fault. I think part of it comes down to when you're learning a new language, the easiest words to learn are usually cuss words. Am I right? And let's just say English is his second language. I don't know if it is, but
it is. English is his second language.
It's his second language.
And he said that the people he grew up with learning English, they were very intense people.
Exactly.
And they spoke like that, just to talk like that. So
and yeah, you're kind of a product of your environment. Like when I was in the military, I cussed a lot, but the people around me cussed a lot, and it was just kind of how you talked. It wasn't like we're just bad people. Oh no, it's just simple as that. So maybe
so Yuki's on board for a race ban this year.
Yes. So that could be the most surprising thing I think that happens in 2025.
So let me ask you this, right? The governing body, if you will, for the FIA is a Middle Eastern group, right?
Correct.
And they're very like conservative values, right?
Correct.
Like they don't like swearing. They don't like anything that would be considered lewd or crude or anything like that.
Right.
Do you think if it changed, if it was like maybe owned by a British holding company, that they'd just let them have at it?
I think so. And I honestly do. I mean, this cussing was never a concern in the past. All right.
Well, but I think a
Bernie
big
Eccleston
part of it
owned
is
it back then. That's a British guy, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, that was when it was sex, drug, and alcohol. Like that used to be F1.
I think now they want to make it like the gentleman's sport.
It is the gentleman's sport. I think it is, and I don't think cussing changes that. I don't think cussing changes that. I mean,
they do.
It's not NASCAR. So, I mean, come on, it's not like this is a major problem that needs to be fixed. I didn't think it was that bad before, and now
I've never thought it was that bad. And to be honest with you, it almost conveys the intensity.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
if you're in a car and the brakes are failing at 130 miles an hour, I'm gonna cuss.
Yeah.
Like I'm going to swear. I'm going to say it, and then I'm probably going to do it before I hit the wall.
So when Max had his off in Silverstone, you know what the very first thing he said was?
Oh, darn it.
Oh, it wasn't that. He come back and he goes, oh. And I'm not going to say the word because of monetization and such, but still. At the end of the day, I can't see them bleeping that out, right?
I can't see it either, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I completely forgot about this. I was actually kind of hoping that they would back off it. A lot of times they come in, they get real strict, and then all of a sudden they're like, everybody push back.
I feel like they've had a lot of pushback from the drivers, the teams, everyone, even the F1 fans. Yeah. And they don't care. I don't think they care. And that's I think that going to be a problem this year. So
I think they better start caring because it's going to be weird if you have 9 drivers on the grid because the other 11
Yeah, exactly.
The other 11 of a race ban.
What if that happens? What if 5 drivers or 10 drivers on the grid decide to strike because of this thing?
Well, so I don't think they'd be in a position to strike unless there was like a unless they cracked. Let's say Yuki Tsunoda, right? Yuki gets the first race ban, right, and then Max gets a race ban.
Yeah,
I think if Yuki gets a race ban, people will be upset. I think if Max gets a race ban, people will lose their minds.
I mean, they're tearing F1 signs down out in the
right. Yeah, it'll be like some of the soccer games where they light the stadium on fire.
Yes, yeah. So does that wrap it up for us? Are we?
I think so.
I think so
I am pumped. For those of you who don't know, the schedule's live, right? Yes. We're going to see testing on February 26th, 7th, and 8th. Yeah. And then the first race is March 14th through the 16th. So that's, obviously qualifying and practice and all that stuff. The race is actually on the 16th in Australia.
That's
so. Here's the thing: who do you think is going to win the first race of the year?
First race of the year. You're gonna hate me for this. Max Verstappen.
Oscar Piastri.
Oscar Piastri. Okay. Australian race.
It's his home race.
His home race. Okay.
It's his home race. He's in one of the strongest cars on the strongest team.
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if they orchestrated it to help him win that race. If the McLaren team, these guys right here, if they orchestrated it to help him win that race. I got everything McLaren. I'm wearing McLaren. I got my McLaren pen.
I'm sorry, Red Bull. I'm letting you down. I got nothing else with me today.
I almost brought over I've got the huge McLaren F1 car, which, by the way, was banned because they were using logos on that they weren't supposed to use.
I have the Pirelli stickers.
Logos.
Yes, on the tires. Yeah. Yes.
Well, there's more than that.
Yeah.
It's not just the Pirelli stickers. There's other sponsorship stickers on that car that aren't on the one that you can buy at the store today.
I would say he's definitely a McLaren fan.
I got a couple of McLaren things in and around my desk area.
Maybe once I have a McLaren in my driveway, I'll be more of a fan as well. And on that note, y'all have a good one. Thanks for joining the F1 chat. We'll see y'all later.
See you guys.
Peace.